the Aquatic Center later in the show. Still one more race to come. The men's 4x200 meter freestyle relay featuring Ryan Cochran of Canada. But here is Mark Tewksbury, 1992 Olympic gold medalist in swimming, and of course Canada's chef de mission at the London 2012 Games. I have to ask you, Mark,
yes,
how closely is the IOC watching what's happening in Toronto? It looks pretty good from this standpoint.
It looks really good. I'm sure they're watching very closely, and I bet they can hear the buzz all the way over in Europe of what's starting to happen in the city. I hopped in a car last night getting home from the pool with Steve Podborski. We talked about the possibility of this turning into a potential 2024 bid the entire ride home. It's just in the air.
Yeah, Steve Podborski, of course, the great crazy Canuck, and was the chef de mission for Team Canada at the Sochi Olympics in 2014. But if they were to make a bid, and it's for 2024 that we're talking about, they'd have to file before the end of September. And I'm wondering how a bid for 2024 might differ from what happened in 2008.
Well, I think just the nature of these games is so different, right? Back in the day when we bid for 2008, we were going to be a very clustered, city-centric Olympic Games. This is a very spread-out games, as we know, all through the Greater Toronto area and the Greater Horseshoe area in Ontario. But it's really working. You know, I started yesterday at canoe kayak, which is in Welland, a couple hours south. Ended up at water polo later in the evening up in Markham, then back in the city, and could do it very easily. So I think that we're sort of seeing with Toronto 2015, this might actually be a new model for the future. That sort of expecting cities to build big clusters in the center of cities filled with stadiums may not be what the IOC will be looking for.
And they're trying to get multiple cities to bid for games. Okay, so the HOV lanes are working. You're a fan of Thomas Bach, the new head of the IOC. Are there any indications that a bid for Toronto might be worthwhile at this time?
I think so. I mean, it's interesting. Back when I was on the Site Selection Commission with Thomas Bach, actually, there were 11 cities bidding for the Summer Olympic Games. That was for the 2004 Olympics. We only have 2 cities in the running for 2022. So obviously the IOC saw they had to shift the model of how you host games. In the old days, they used to sort of put out a set of requirements, and cities had to meet those. Thomas Bach has come in with the new Agenda 2020 and said, we want to hear you. We want to hear cities tell us what's going to be good for the longevity of sport in your country. We want to know about athlete development, sport development, legacy, community, and based on what you tell us will work, we'll decide if that can work for us, which is very progressive. And I think that's why Toronto is so interesting, why the Pan Am Games and this spread out model at first, that could be an Olympic Games, but now in today's reality might be actually the ticket.
In a few seconds, I just want to ask this. This is not smoke and mirrors. You believe that TO 2015 is important then down the road?
Well, I think Toronto is an amazing world-class city. It's grown into this spectacular place, and I think that the world needs to find out more about it. You know, I think that we would be a fabulous host city, and it could be our time. If you know, there's a lot of ifs there, but it could be.
Thanks so much, Mark. Can't wait to talk to you more about this as time goes on.
Thanks, Scott.
The great Mark Tewksbury. We'll be back with more sport, TO 2015, and primetime on CBC.